coal doesn't have to be the dirty commodity that everyone thinks it is. To talk to us a little bit more about the future of coal, we are joined by Michelle. Michelle, thank you so much for your time. The word coal has been running through people's minds in conversations for quite a few years now. How does coal fit into the green energy space?
Thank you for having me. Look, I think it's been quite interesting actually to look at the evolution of the industry over time. Certainly, many of my members are actually in renewables as well as abated coal. And I think the way to look at coal in the green energy space is probably to stop talking about green. And to really start talking about the abatement opportunities for coal and other resources, minerals and energy intensive industries that exist. And in that regard, there's a lot of positive for coal. In fact, up to 99% of coal pollutants can be abated through known technologies and processes that exist today. And many people don't know that, and that includes CCS. So it fits really well into that transition model, but it's also very much the building block of some of those renewables for wind turbines and the like, the things that you can actually get from coal in terms of critical minerals. Also, just your basic steel, cement, all of these things are powering and necessary, for the transition, particularly the renewables transition. So it's much more inclusive and I think much more sophisticated, particularly if you look to China and India, who really do look at this transition, this energy transition as, about emissions reduction and a coal ecosystem, not as a green transition per se.
With that said then, how does the industry change the narrative around the perception of so-called dirty coal?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think one of the main issues that we have is this notion of dirty has really come mostly from the global north, and it's come from old technologies, many of which, just do not, a lot of which don't exist today or can be improved on with, as I said before, the known technologies and processes. And I very much from the developing emerging markets, they really see this as the opportunity to educate a larger public, both governments and investors, on what those opportunities are. And for FutureCoal, we call this sustainable coal stewardship. And what that's about is really looking at those abatement opportunities, which is that broader definition. In the global north, you tend to look at abatement as just CCS. That's not how the developing and emerging markets, particularly, countries who are advancing things like coal to hydrogen, coal gasification in China and in India, all of these countries look at that ecosystem and those abatement opportunities about efficiency, or they look at coal as a multi-commodity product. How can we extract more value per ton? And by value, they talk both to economics and economic gains as well as environmental gains. So I think that sophisticated discussion is really quite important. And in order to change the perception as a value chain, as a coal value chain, we must tell that story together. You simply cannot educate on the role and the responsibility of coal to many communities around the world, developed and developing markets, and the tentacles of coal that really stretch to all industries in many, many different ways, both directly and indirectly. But you can't tell it as a coal producer. You can't tell it as a coal consumer or a supplier. You must tell it as an integrated coal value chain. And I think those are the lessons I'm certainly learning, and where FutureCoal has really emanated from is that thinking, particularly in China and Indian markets.
Talk to me about the relationship that you see between technology and environmentally friendly coal.
Yeah, again, it's really about emissions, isn't it? And it's all emissions. This is not just about carbon neutrality. This is also about air quality and the like. But it's also about efficiency. So, how can I do more with this one product? How can I look at waste management? How can I look at recycling? All of these things are quite important to create that coal ecosystem. So the thinking is very much about looking at it as a cycle. an ecosystem that's really supporting what can I do with this incredibly valuable product, but how do I apply the best available technology today? And as I said, many of those opportunities exist. But of course, as we all know, it really relies on government and investors to be educated, to be aligned, and really to support that kind of investment certainty, but also that kind of understanding of the strategic importance of coal and the importance of bettering it. It's not just about phasing this resource out, it's about making it better, both economically and environmentally. And that will support any transition. I think we must welcome diversity, certainly for FutureCoal. We welcome the diversity. That's actually very positive. Diversity is good for energy security. It's important for energy reliability. It's critical for energy affordability. All of these things are very realistic and sensible things to aim and strive for.
As we wrap up, let's look forward. What do you anticipate the future of coal-fired power stations to be?
Well, I think if we look again, I keep holding it up in terms of India and China, but I think if we again look at the opportunities for the power stations, where they look at the process of the power stations becoming a lot more, they're looking at those opportunities for coal gasification, they're looking at combined heating and power, all of these, these things that really make the process much, much more efficient and able to actually, deliver both a reliable, affordable baseload, but also that's one that's really cognizant of the environmental footprint. Again, it exists. It's here. It really does take, I think, a reality-based thinker, a pragmatic thinker, and someone that's much more inclusive. This is not an and/or argument. This has to be inclusive. We cannot simply eliminate something because we've chosen not to like it. We must absolutely understand that. And so in order to do that, let's not focus on the fuel. Let's focus on the technology and let the best technology win.
On that note, thank you so much for your time. That is Michelle, and for more insights you can go to MITV, which you can access on the Mining Indaba website.